Suspension components, don't care about. Brake lines, don't care about. Brake booster, that's gonna be gone. Brakes for quitters. Turns out not only did I say something stupid, I did something stupid. Yeah, I effed that one up. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're back on the LS and we're going to be wrapping up the bottom end. Quick recap on it. It started out as a 3rd gen 5.3 truck motor out of an 03 Avalanche. We boarded over 20,000, added a 4-inch stroke as part of a 363 cubic inch stroker kit we got from CNC Motorsport. We're going to go ahead and knock out the timing. We're going to knock out the oil pump, oil pan. I'm going to modify that windage tray and everything, so we can get this block ready to go into the old 442. All right, so to start this out, I went ahead and set our cylinder number 1 to top dead center. If you notice, our keyway, it's not straight up and down like you would see on like the JZ. It's actually off perfectly in line with our number 1 cylinder. You'll see our 0 and our reference dot aren't in line with each other, and that's to compensate for this right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slap some oil on the back side of this, especially right here where this is going to be riding on that. I'm going to align the 0 with our keyway. And now I got to find a socket that's big enough to fit over that. But hopefully I'll be able to zoom in on this. I don't want to move the camera around while my hands are coated in oil. But our 0's over here, our dots straight up. Alright, so with a little bit of makeshift tooling, got the sprocket on. Next up, I'm just going to make sure that the timing gear is, everything's aligned right. It does have a bearing on the back side that's going to sit flush with the camshaft, so I'm just going to make sure that I put a little bit of lube on there just to keep that bearing happy. It'll probably be a while before this engine runs, so. Boom. Dots look straight up. Next part's real messy. Had the chain soaking in oil, so that's just going to be a mess. There we go. And right away, there is a problem. Let's rotate this cam just a little bit. We got straight up and down. Now, I'm going to reuse the factory bolts just for the time being. I just forgot to order new bolts, but I ordered it today. Of course, I'm going to be running ARP bolts on this as well. Is it absolutely necessary to switch these to ARP bolts? Probably not, but I want to kind of keep some consistency with the build. So this engine, just like the Cleveland and even now the 2J after it's been rebuilt, we're switching to more reliable fasteners. So once those come in, we'll pop the timing cover back off. We won't need to take the oil pump or anything off. It would just be the timing cover. And since we don't have the dampener to put on there just yet, it's not going to make that much of a big deal. This is super messy. Pop these gloves off. Hopefully I can find my 10 mil. see the chain sticks out just slightly beyond the block. So it's for that reason that we're gonna have to shim the oil pump right here and right here to pull it out just a little bit further. And we're probably going to have to clearance the inside of the timing cover. But give you a look, straight up and down. So yeah. All right, so that's that for the timing components. Again, we didn't degree the cam just because, well, I'm gonna wait till we have an actual professional tuner to decide what needs to be done for that. We're just going straight up and down, no advance, no retarded timing. So we know we're gonna have to shim the pump. Luckily the timing kit came with the shims for the oil pump. So I guess next up, just go ahead and throw the oil pump on. Okay, so moving on to the oil pump. You got our keyway here. Again, I'm just gonna give it a little coat of lube on the inside. A little bit on the outside. It's been sitting in the garage for a little bit, so it's got some rust on it. I'm gonna slide that in there. So I guess with the oil pumps, at least for the LS, this side looks like the outside, but this side's actually gonna be what's facing the engine. This case should be on the outside. But before we can do that, we've got to put our shims in. There we go. So now this piece will slide in there. That piece will slide in there. Certainly don't want to cross thread these. Oh, that feels better. Maybe I was just babying it. Doesn't feel forced. That feels good. Snug it down. That's on. After that, it'd just be the timing cover. But in order to do that, I'm gonna flip the engine over. That way we can make sure it's flush. And then we still gotta cut the windage tray. So before our battery dies on us, we have here our new oil pan. This one is from LSXceleration as well. It's just their version of the Holley pan. But more importantly, it's meant for an LS swap with a 4-inch stroke into a GMA body. This should fit what we need. We have exactly a 4-inch stroke on the engine. But before we can get that put in, we have to modify the windage tray. Normally, I would just be like, screw it, we just want to run a windage tray. But I think those are kind of important. And again, this build is about not taking shortcuts and getting things done the right way. So we're just going to do the next best thing to taking a shortcut, which is by cutting up an original piece. So I've got my instructions on how to cut it. I'm going to go grab the cutoff wheel. We'll start making our cuts and our hacks and see where it goes. Alright guys, so like I mentioned before, in order to make this oil pan fit, we have to modify the windage tray. So I printed off some directions. This is from Holley's website. Again, this is an LSXceleration oil pan, not a Holley oil pan, but for this purpose, they're essentially the same pan. So you're going to require the same modifications. So first, I'm just going to get kind of a rough estimate or a rough draw of where this is supposed to go. And get my diagram oriented to the pan or to the windage tray. And we're going to draw a rough cut 0.313 inches off. And I can afford to be a little bit off in here because we're going to make more cuts. So this first cut's going to be just to get some more room. Going to be a clean cut straight across. And after that, we're going to have to kind of start digging around some more. It's going to eventually have to come. And again, these are rough cuts. Alright, so now that I got them marked out, I probably throw this graphic onto the screen somewhere over this area and let you guys see where I'm making the cuts at. So now I'm going to go grab that cutoff wheel and get to cutting this off. So I got the windage tray cut up for the most part as much as it needed to be cut. See right here, just a little work with the cutoff wheel and a grinding disc. Now I do still need to just kind of clean it off a little more, get all the metal shavings off of it, which for the most part I've already done. Probably take some sandpaper to it and kind of clean off these edges right here. But we're good to go. Now, I went ahead and test fit the windage tray on the block. Tried rotating the crank over a few times because I suspected there'd still be some spots that it hit. This windage tray is for an LS with something shorter than a 4-inch stroke. So, just as I thought, it didn't clear quite all the way. Rotating the crank over, you can see I've got a few marks right here where the rod bolts of all things are catching. I'll probably get like a tool and try knocking it just a little bit and see if that fixes it. But what may end up happening is we may just need to get a new windage tray, probably something from like an LS3, something that's meant to have that longer stroke. So I'll go ahead and put the order in for the LS3 windage tray, and in the meantime, tap these out, see if that fixes it. If not, it'll be a while before this engine's running anyway, so no big deal. Well, we're on the final stretch for this bottom end. We got the windage tray clearance enough that the rod bolts are no longer catching. However, I still went ahead and ordered the LS3 windage tray. In my mind, it's still just a better idea to run a windage tray that was meant for an engine with a 4-inch stroke versus just kind of sending it with what we have. But in the meantime, just to keep progress going, we're going to go ahead and throw on the oil pan. So the oil pan actually comes as part of a kit from LSXceleration. Again, it's kind of their version of the Holley pan that's meant for LS swaps into a 64 to 72 A-body. The LSXceleration kit comes with the pan, pickup tube, baffle. Actually comes with the oil pan gasket as part of it. And then it also comes with the bolts and stuff that are meant for it. I also went ahead and got an ICT billet adapter. This will be used to mount our pressure sensor as well as our 2 feed lines for the turbo kits. The kit comes with all the bolts. It's got the threaded portion for our oil filter and it comes with, again, the block off where the sensor would be, gasket for that. We're not going to need this, obviously, because we're running the ICT billet one, but we will need this threaded pipe. Comes with the bolts that were meant for the baffle. So we got 2 for the pickup tube, 4 bolts that go into the baffle, and then we also have the 2 bolts that were meant for the block off. And I may have those backwards. This may be for the oil pan. One thing with the kit, it didn't come with instructions. It's kind of the only thing that I wish would have came with. It's got oil pan bolts, but we're not going to need these because we're going to run ARP bolts. Of course, like I said, it's probably overkill at this point, but everything, every fastener in this engine is going to be an ARP fastener. So that's going to be that. And then finally, it has these 2 little plugs. These plugs go, they're meant for the dash 10 adapters or AM ports. So this pan was actually meant for engines that were going to be twin turbo, or at least they were meant to accommodate twin turbo setups. So they do come with a provision for the oil return lines on either side of the pan. It's kind of the inside of the pan. Still got a decent sump. I'm gonna say it holds somewhere between 5 and 6 quarts of oil still. We'll have an oil cooler as well, so it'll hold a little bit more than that. That's it for the kit. It's pretty quality. There was some issues from the manufacturer with like a little bit of burring. No big deal. Just took some sandpaper to it, some file to it, knocked it all off. But quality kit from what I can see. We'll go ahead and throw the baffle in, test fit it, see how it all works out. So for a quick recap, we've got 10 mil hex, 4.5 mil hex, 4 mil hex. We'll pick up 2 bolts. The ones that mounted into the oil pump are a 5 mil hex. I really gotta say, I'm not overly impressed with this kit right now. Overall, the pan seems good. Has a lot of nice features, like having the built-in return line provisions is really nice. But then you get things like the drain plug not fitting the drain hole, or this portion to thread on the threaded pipe for your oil filter. It just seems kind of off. It's kind of hard to explain. I don't know if you can catch it on camera, but like the O-ring seems like it's way too big for that. And the more you tighten it down, the more it just kind of pushes it out the way. The spot for the sensor is partially blocked by the lip of the oil filter housing location. So I don't know if we'll need like a 90 or something to kind of run that off of, or we may end up just plugging that and not running a sensor there. This drain plug is really giving me issues. It just doesn't sit right with me. All right, well, now I'm gonna give you guys at least something. So I'll show you what it looks like kind of setting on there and rested. But I've got some, I got some things to do. All right, so here's what the oil pan looks like on there. Got the ICT billet feed. Now it's not bolted in, or else I would flip it over and show you guys how it looks hanging on the engine. And there's those plugs for the oil return. Yeah. It's just this one thing. That drain plug doesn't fit, and for the life of me, I don't know why that would ship out like that. But there it is. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Unfortunately, that's gonna do it for this episode. We just can't get to the point we wanted to get to with the bottom end being completely buttoned up because so much stuff is missing. And like I said, we got to get the oil pump bolts, the cam gear bolts. We got to get the LS3 windage tray, and then I've got to figure out why that oil pan didn't ship with the right oil drain plug. Then I got to figure out what the right oil drain plug is. Luckily, the company has been pretty easy to get a hold of and get questions answered, so I don't foresee it being a big deal. But yeah, it sucks because you got plans and then, you know, shit happens. All right, guys. Well, once again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click the like button, leave a comment below, point out all the things that you think could go wrong or could have gone wrong. You know, comment below all the things that you think I messed up. You know, if it's valid, I'll fix it. If it's not, whatever, we'll laugh about it together. All right, so next time you guys see the LS, we'll be doing some head work and then getting ready for the final assembly of that thing. So I'll see you guys later. Peace.